Roth conversions can be a valuable tax planning tool, but there are times when Roth conversions can do more harm than good. Hi, I'm Jose Armenta, a certified financial planner helping first federal employees make smart financial decisions. And today we're going to look at the 5 times where it wouldn't make sense to do a Roth conversion. Okay, so it's going to be a great video. Now we're going to start off with covering exactly what a Roth conversion is for those of you who are not familiar with this tax planning tool. And then we're going to jump into the 5 situations where a Roth conversion may not be the right thing to do. So it's going to be a great video. Let's dive right in. Okay, so for those of you new to Roth conversions, what exactly is it? So a Roth conversion is simply the process of moving funds from a tax-deferred account, so your traditional TSP or traditional IRA, to an after-tax account, a Roth TSP, a Roth IRA account. And in that process, in moving dollars that have not been taxed to an account where the dollars have been taxed, you're going to have to pay taxes on those funds in order to make that transition. So that is what a Roth conversion is. And so the Roth conversion allows you to bring those dollars that will be taxed in the future and have them taxed today at a lower tax rate than they would have been had you kept them in the tax deferred account and brought them out to produce your income during retirement and having your taxable income increase by withdrawing those tax deferred dollars. So that's the benefit of a Roth conversion. That's what the Roth conversion is in a nutshell. Okay, so what are the 5 scenarios when a Roth conversion may not make sense? So let's get into them. The first one, gotta put my glasses on first. Okay, so the first one is if you don't have the funds to pay the tax bill. Because remember, what we're doing here is we're essentially bringing dollars that were going to be taxed at some point in the future during retirement, and we're having them taxed today. And because we're bringing monies that was going to be taxed in the future and bringing it to be taxed today, we have to pay that tax bill. When we file our taxes, we may even have to make an estimated tax payment during the year. Just depends on your tax situation. And so if you don't have the funds and you don't want to use some of those tax dollars that you're converting to pay the tax bill, and depending on your age, you may not want to, if you're under age 59 and a half, for example, if you do not have the funds to pay this tax bill, then a Roth conversion may not make sense for you. That's pretty straightforward. And even if you do have the funds to pay this tax bill, some folks find paying a tax bill earlier than necessary hard to swallow. And I understand that. It may make financial sense to do a Roth conversion, but mentally, you're just not able to pay thousands of dollars in taxes before you are absolutely required to do so. And that's understandable as well. That's the first scenario when doing a Roth conversion may not make sense, when you just can't afford to pay that tax bill or just can't bring yourself to pay that tax bill. Okay, moving on to number 2. The second scenario when it may not make sense to perform a Roth conversion is if you'll be in a lower tax bracket in the future. Because remember, what we're doing is, again, we're bringing dollars that we're going to be taxed later in retirement, and we're having them taxed today. And the only reason it would make sense to do that is if we're going to pay a lower rate. We're going to pay less today by doing that. So if you're going to be in a lower tax bracket in the future, you have a pretty good idea where you're going to be in the future. We don't have a crystal ball. We're relying on projections. If there's a very good chance that you're going to be on a lower tax bracket in the future, it would make more sense to leave those dollars in a tax-deferred account in your traditional TSP and withdraw them in the future at that lower tax rate. Because so that's a second scenario when a Roth conversion doesn't make sense. If you believe you're going to be paying less taxes, less fees later in life. Moving on to number 3, the third scenario is if RMDs are not an issue. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with RMDs, required minimum distributions, when you have money in a tax-deferred account, your traditional TSP, a traditional IRA, that money has not been taxed. We've established that. But the IRS will require at a certain age that you withdraw that amount because they want to tax it. Okay, they don't want you leave that money there tax sheltered for too long. So you come upon an age that require minimum distributions, you'll be subject to them. Now, for some of you, that's age 72. They just changed the age. Some of you, that would be age 73. But for most of you watching this video, that's going to be age 75, where your tax deferred accounts will be subject to RMDs. Now, one of the benefits of Roth conversions is that by spreading your tax deferred dollars, spreading your taxable income over several years, you can reduce the RMDs, because your RMDs, the amount that you're required to withdraw from your tax deferred accounts, is based off of your life expectancy. Okay, and if the account is very large and you have a shorter time to withdraw that amount, then those required minimum distributions can be quite large and they can push you into a higher tax bracket. They can have other implications, such as increasing your Medicare premiums via the IRMA surcharges. So there could be a number of negative implications by having these RMDs and having large RMDs. But if RMDs are not an issue, then it may not make sense to perform a Roth conversion. So that's the third scenario when performing a Roth conversion may not make sense. Now moving on to number 4. We touched on this. If you're going to be subject to IRMA surcharges, like I mentioned here a bit ago, your Medicare premiums are based off of your taxable income. And if your taxable income increases substantially, let's say due to Roth conversions, then it can push you higher up on these thresholds, and your Medicare premiums can increase substantially, anywhere from $75 to almost $500 per person on that tax return. So if you're a married couple, that could be a $75 per person increase up to almost $500 that you can pay more monthly. So this could be over $10,000 that you'll pay in additional Medicare charges if you perform Roth conversions at the wrong time. So that's why you have to be very careful with Roth conversions. They can be very effective at lowering your lifetime tax bill, and that's really what's most important, how much you'll pay in taxes over your lifetime. But they can increase your IRMA surcharges, and that increase in Medicare premiums may outweigh the benefit of some tax savings. And so that's why really sitting down and looking at these numbers is extremely important, because I've seen situations with my own clients where they would have saved money in taxes by performing a Roth conversions, but the amount of their premiums, the Medicare premiums, the amount of increase was far greater than the tax savings. And so a Roth conversion just didn't make sense. So that's the fourth scenario when performing a Roth conversion would not make sense, if you're subject to those IRMA surcharges and if your Medicare premiums are going to increase substantially. Okay, now the fifth and final scenario where performing a Roth conversion may not make sense is if you have a short life expectancy. Because remember, the benefit of Roth conversion is when you move money that's in a tax deferred account, it's going to be taxed in the future. You bring it to be taxed today at a lower rate, and then you move that into the Roth account where it can grow tax-free. And if you have a short amount of time to allow that money to grow tax-free, then performing a Roth conversion may not make sense. Additionally, if you have a shorter life expectancy, you may not be subject to RMDs, or the amount of years that you are subject to RMDs will be short. So you may not see a lot of benefit there. So having a shorter life expectancy definitely will impact that analysis of whether performing a Roth conversion makes sense or not. Now, these are the top 5 that I came up with. If you can think of a different scenario where performing a Roth conversion may not make sense, let me know in the comments below. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please hit that like and subscribe button. That's the best way to support this channel. And if you're interested in learning how my financial planning firm can help you with your financial planning and retirement needs, visit my website at www.createyourpathfp.com. I'll put a link down below. Until next time, I'm Jose Armenta. Take care.